Serious, Americans who have been treated in hospital for COVID-19, how much did they charge you? What differences are there if you end up in ICU? Also, how do you see your health insurance changing with the effects to your body post-COVID? My insurance covered it all. Pretty early on they said they would cover all COVID-19 cost. I didn't end up in the ICU, so I can't answer that, but it should be covered if it did. Unfortunately, I lost that insurance recently due changing jobs, losing it because of the pandemic. Edit, wow, I didn't think this comment would go anywhere. I have insurance. I found a new job before my old one ended. Thanks for the concerns and tips on insurance. Edit 2, if you live the States and need insurance, do your research. Reach out to a local nonprofit, career center, or your library. These places tend to have an idea where to start looking. Also, Google. I know Minnesota has a webpage about COVID. Remember to take care of yourself and be kind to each other. Unfortunately, I lost that insurance recently due changing jobs. Doesn't private health insurance exist in the States at all? It does, but it can be exorbitantly expensive. How expensive are we talking here? I mean, I wouldn't expect $10 per month to cover the sort of insane bills you get if you so much as glance in the direction of a hospital over there, but still curious. The national average premium in 2020 for single coverage is $448 per month, for family coverage, $1,041 per month, according to our study. From ahealthinsurance.com, updated October 6, 2020 #X200B, edit, okay guys, I was just copying and pasting some general information from Google. I'm already depressed enough. I'm so sorry to hear that everyone else is getting shafted by the system too. Wife had to get one of the free tests, and got a bill, COVID test $0.00 MD consultation $200.000. Best part, she only saw a tech who done the swab, never saw the doctor. Call your insurance. CARES Act mandates that insurance companies pay in full for any COVID-related medical services. That includes consults, tests, hospital stays, etc. The only case in which it is not required that it be paid in full is if your wife needed the testing to get back to work. For example, if she worked at a nursing facility that requires a bi-weekly test to be allowed to work, then your insurance would not be obligated to pay for that, but it would be on the employer. As a low-income resident of Massachusetts, I have MassHealth, which is essentially universal health care. I didn't pay a single dime for my COVID care aside from $3.65 for an inhaler. I didn't get hospitalized, but even in the past when it didn't cost me a single cent. Edit, when I made more money, I still had MassHealth. The highest monthly premium I ever paid was $35 and I was making around $40,000 at the time. $3.65 for an inhaler, I usually pay over $125 for mine. That's crazy. My son had inhalers as a toddler. I remember having to buy his first one and the pharmacist saying that will be 153 cents. What? $153? Sir, I said cents. Has shit eating grin. Oh. Wow, I'm dumb. Hands over pocket change. Damn socialist Canadian healthcare with their dumb jokes. I'm in the UK, England, I'm charged $9.15 for my inhalers each. How often do you need them? If you end up getting enough prescriptions, it might be worth it to get a prepaid certificate. 120 covers unlimited prescriptions for a whole year. I get multiple each month, so it's definitely worth it for me. I get the 3-month one once each year and stock up on my medication. Saves me a ton of money. Doctor here. Regardless of what eventual bill comes your way, you need to do immediately 2 things before paying a single dime. 1. Call the hospital and ask to speak to the billing. 2. Ask the following questions. A. Do you have a community program for people who cannot afford their medical expenses, e.g. community care? B. Do you have a sliding scale fee? I promise they do. This adjusts your portion of the bill according to your income, which with your lost job or have low income could be close to zero. C. Is there a social worker I can ask about qualifying for how to apply for these programs and for Medicaid? 3. If none of this works, call back again in a week and ask these exact questions. If you get no answer, ask to speak to their manager or ask for an appointment in person to figure out your options. 4. If none of that works, don't pay it, wait for it to go into collections, and then call back and ask to settle the claim for pennies on the dollar. This may hurt your credit, but may protect your survival. Sorry anyone has to go through all of this, but you would be surprised how many patients I have told about this who end up with a very small bill, or no bill, after going through this. Anything the hospital forgives they will get as a tax write-off. In fact, for some hospitals to keep their nonprofit status they have to give so much of this free medical care away. My neighbor, on disability and Medicare, was on a respirator for 5 weeks and in that for 5 months. Medicare was supposed to pay for it. They just got a bill for $40,000. 2 elderly people on a fixed income. To make matters worse, her husband got hit by a car and shattered his knee, so he's in a wheelchair. And Medicaid didn't cover all of his expenses either. It makes me so mad. They worked hard for 50 years, paid their debts to society, raised great kids, and now they can't get the help they need. Edit to add. It seems the consensus is that the bill isn't really meant for them. It should be paid off completely or only have a small amount for them to pay, but either billing needs to be changed or they just should not have received the bill. I'll be speaking to their eldest child next week to let him know what's going on, and hopefully they will have one less thing to worry about. Thank you all for informing us. We had no idea, as they've never had hospital bills before. Also, for the jackass who said it's fake, I mean, it's only really hearsay from my elderly neighbor, so, me? I wonder if NPR would be interested in that story. www.npr.org section shelf shots 201-802-1658-5549-568. Share your medical bill with us. I wonder if NPR would be interested in that story. www.npr.org section shelf shots 201-802-1658-5549-568. Share your medical bill with us. Absolutely. All FIRE 26 please have their family submit their story. NPR's reporting on this has even eliminated some individuals' bills that they were originally charged for. I was in the hospital 10 days and my bill was $700, which was a lot cheaper than I thought considering the fact I was in the ICU a few days. I already have really good insurance, so it probably won't change. I've only really had some breathing issues since. How are you post-COVID? I have a few friends who've had it and they feel they have lost a lot of their energy stamina even 6 months later. I definitely have noticed I get tired more easily. I exercise pretty regularly and it took me a long time to build my stamina back up, and it's still not the best. My blood oxygen level is also always pretty low. My doctor said it will get better with time, and it's only been about 2 months now. I came down with the virus in mid-March, and when it got so bad I went to the hospital. I was told they could not test for it. They did take my temperature and oxygen level and blood pressure. I was told I had a 102-degree fever, low oxygen count and high blood pressure. They said it was almost for sure COVID and told to go home, take Tylenol and stay in the house. #X200B, this was at the largest hospital system in the state. So no charge but no help either. You should know that your hospital probably did the right thing. Even with the advancements in treatments since March, there's still nothing that we do for someone who is oxygenating okay. Hospitalized patients with your exact same symptoms will be given Tylenol and told to rest. So, going home really did make sense. Before COVID, same thing. If you are sick but your vital signs are stable, you go home. I hope you feel completely recovered. Exactly. I hate that people think we weren't treating COVID plus patients appropriately. But if your O2 is fine, it was best to send you home and have you quarantined because we desperately needed the space, especially in March to May, for the very sick patients who needed vents, etc. I work in the and we sent most people home pretty quickly after we saw they had normal vitals. Plus we don't want them, possibly, exposing more people by going out if they're healthy enough to stay home. No. I want to be intubated and in the ICU. I went to the in March before testing was widely available. I did end up having COVID. I was in the for 4 hours, had a COVID test, fluids, flu and strep tests and Tylenol. They billed my insurance $22,000 for that, what the actual duck, and I still had to pay over $800. Bingo, that bill is the problem. Costs are ducking stupid. I wanted to get an itemized bill, but I was pretty sick with COVID, then got furloughed from work. There was so much going on, not to mention dealing with some mental health issues related to isolation and quarantine. The CARES Act is supposed to cover medical expenses for the uninsured. NPR had a story on this on 102,220. TriStar, like most major health systems, participates in a program through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services in which uninsured patients with COVID-19 have their bills covered. It was set up through the pandemic relief legislation known as the CARES Act. But TriStar doesn't tell its patients that upfront. Neither do other hospitals or national health systems contacted by WPLN News. There's no requirement to, which is one of the program's shortcomings, says Jennifer Tolbert of the Kaiser Family Foundation, who studies uninsured patients. NPR.org edit, added full NPR story link edit. Wow, my first awards. Thank you, dear strangers. It's like we would be better off uninsured then. I have insurance. $7,000 deductible and then go to a $8,020. It's frightening. My dad has screamed for years about why the hell am I working so hard killing myself when our neighbors get everything handed to them by the state. Gotta love that middle class donut hole. Too poor to afford stuff yourself, not poor enough to get a handout. My family is in that spot too. Make too much to get the help but not enough to not need the help.